when we talk in terms like legislate and govern, they're not really terms that are often heard in normal church settings, but they are governmental settings, and the kingdom of God is an increase of God's government and peace. So to govern something is to rule in an area that you have responsibility for. So in your own life, that's your life and the spheres of governmental authority that God has given you. And one of those can be family. But when you govern, let's say you're governing a nation or you're governing a family, you're doing that to protect and to bless those that you're governing. You're not doing it to control them or make them do what you think they should do or rule over them to control them, but you're wanting to provide an environment that they can be blessed in. So think of your family. To govern that sphere in your life, you are wanting your family to be blessed. In other words, to be fruitful and fulfill who they are in God. Now, we can sometimes mix that up with what we want for them or what we think they should have or do. So to govern is not to control them, but to bless them and to use the authority we have as sons of God seated in the heavenly places to do that. So we can make declarations of blessing over their lives. We can decree provision and protection. You can engage the angelic realm to send angels to protect them. You can also engage their own angels to cooperate with protection for them and for the blessing of them. So there's very practical things you can do. To legislate is to use laws or legislative authority. So if God gives you a mandate to do something, you can use the authority of that mandate to do something in someone's life, whatever that might be. But what we can't do is, again, we can't make laws to control people or families or nations. What we do is to legislate is using authority in a positive way to bring about God's purposes for that person's life. So yes, I can use the law of love to legislate out of to bring about the maybe a family member or a friend would experience the love of God, and I can demonstrate that love myself, which would be unconditional love. And this is the key. We need to provide an environment where our family are free to be themselves and we accept them and love them as they are. But within that context, our acceptance and love for them is also wanting to release the best for them, which may not be the situation they're in right now, but we can't control them. We need to operate in the right spirit with the right heart and not try and manipulate them to be different or do anything negative. So everything really is about helping people and family members to be blessed and enter into the fullness of the blessing that God has for them and to awaken to the reality of their identity in God. And we can do that in simple ways of decrees and declarations and angelic engagement, but we can also engage with them themselves, and we can demonstrate to them that we have their best interests at heart and we want the best for them, and we're not going to tell them what to do, but we can encourage them. You see, there's a Bible verse that says in Proverbs, bring up a child in the way they should go and they won't depart from it. Now that has been misused, that Bible verse, to mean that if we teach them about Christian things or we teach them about God, then they won't depart. It is teaching them or encouraging them to discover who God created them to be, their identity and the particular personality, redemptive gift that he made them to have, and helping them discover themselves, so that if they discover themselves, well, they're not going to depart from it. They're not going to try. We don't want them to follow a path that we've set for them. They want to follow the journey that God has for them. So it's always encouraging people to discover who they are in God. And yes, there can be court cases done that maybe to help remove some legal right that may be in the family to restrict or hinder or to bring poverty or bring death or sickness and disease. And there can be practical things we can do as led by the Spirit. But most of all, it is love that will bring about the best results. So I'm legislating that love will be in my sphere of government, within my family, that all my children will know they're loved, that all my family will know they're loved. So I would just encourage you to just release love, bless with love, and fully engage the Father's heart and just ask him to show you what it is that he would want you to do. If there's anything specific, sometimes it's better to stay out of the way and trust that God is going to do what he can do in someone's life to bless them. I would encourage you, when you're engaging with groups online that operate in the old type of stuff, not to get frustrated, and to not to try and show them how to do it either, but just be yourself. And if you can't be yourself within the group, then I would ask God whether you should be in the group or not. Being yourself is the key. You're not there to change them. You're there to be you within that setting. And that's the best thing you can be. And if you're an example, great, they'll see it. You don't have to tell them what to do, but you can share the testimonies, of course, of what you're doing or what's going on in your life. But do it in a way that isn't manipulative. Don't try and, I'm going to share this testimony because I want them to do this way. So literally, when it comes to legislating, it's using authority to bring about what God's desire is. When you're governing, you're bringing the God's kingdom rule into the situations that you have responsibility for. Make sure you don't go beyond the boundaries and the limitations of the jurisdiction of your area of government. It's like we need to be aware of the limitations of the area of jurisdiction. See, the UK laws do not apply in the US, and US laws do not apply in the UK because they have their own area of jurisdiction. So make sure you stick to the area of jurisdiction that you have and don't go beyond it, because that's where your authority lies. And your authority is always to bless. I do have within the Engaging God program quite a number of legislative things. There is a statute book which has laws within it that actually give you the permissions. And laws are permissive, not restrictive. You're always bringing the positive. You're releasing someone into the good things, freeing them from the things that are restricting them. All of that is positive. It's always a positive thing when we come to government and legislation. Hi, everyone. We're starting a Patreon page, patreon.com/freedomarc. And we would like to invite you to partner with us in taking the message of God's unconditional love, limitless grace, triumphant mercy to a bigger global audience.